teaching them how to live this way.
Well, good morning, world. Welcome back once again to the UnChristian podcast. My name is Ndumiso Mazibugo. I'm the host of the UnChristian podcast. As always, I'm bringing you a wonderful, exciting, insightful episode, as we always do on this platform. And if you're here for the first time, please do all the right things. Subscribe to this channel. Leave us some love there. Comment in the comment section. Share this link with whomever is in your world. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, please do leave a review as well if you can there, and share that audio podcast to your world as well. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm not alone today. As always, I've got a wonderful guest in our in this episode. I've been observing this man of God's ministry for a while, doing wonderful things in the area of Alexandra, in the east of Johannesburg. And with me is none other than Pastor Sifiso Twala. He's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Fundis.
So, Fundis. Well, and yourself.
Finally, you're here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. Thank you for making time.
Yes, thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Awesome.
To be here. Yeah.
Pastor Sifiso Twala, of course, is a pastor, but also he's the author of a brand new book that we are going to be dealing with today and looking at on the subject of marriage. My favorite subject. For this little podcast, watching Tandem Shad.
Who doesn't, though? Who doesn't?
Hey, for this, watching Tandem Umshado is beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
Umshado is
Why
beautiful.
not?
Yeah, and the subject of Umshado,
Yep.
like the passion, rather, not the subject, the passion for marriages.
Yeah, Fundis, thank you very much again for having me. And yeah, it's such a pleasure to be on the podcast today. And greetings to your viewers and everyone here who's catching us. I would say, Fundis, what I'd like to call the burden yami in regards to Mshado started in 2018. Yeah, it was my first year in full-time ministry. Just started a church.
Right.
People start to come in,
yes.
And by the grace of God, this new couple comes in.
Wow.
Not married yet, but they've paid lobola.
Yeah.
They're staying together. So after weeks of preaching and what, they come to me one day and Fundis, we want to do the right thing. We want to go into marriage. Wow, exciting. I mean, it's a new church, yes. And we're about to have our first marriage,
Yeah.
And yeah, so we did premarital classes with
yes.
them, sessions with them.
Yes.
But even them, Fundis, there were red flags, there were things that were saying, it's not so. But I guess with the, excitement, them, the whole idea of being married, me, the idea of officiating a wedding for the first time, we overlooked the red flags, 2-3 years, they got married in a seminar that I was doing, 21 things to know before you say I do. Very beautiful, nice, small ceremony. Got married nicely. Very exciting for me. It was a great experience. 2-3 years later into their marriage, they divorce, after countless interventions and sessions, but it did not work out. And that really hit me. I have to say, it hit me. The very first wedding that I've officiated, very first couple, and this happens. It hit me hard. It hit me really hard. And the very next day, which was 2019, decided to start couples services that we had every once a month now, just to pray for marriages and also just to equip us as couples. Yes. So this is how the whole passion came for me, Guti. If I'm going to lead a church, chances are marriage is going to be the center of all, because we're building families, and it all starts with the marriage. I've got to equip myself, number one. If I'm going to be ushering people into this ministry, into this wonderful institution, I've got to make sure that I give them a chance to survive. Also to equip those who are going into this institution. Absolutely. So that's how I actually got into marriage.
And how's the state of families and marriages in the area of Alexandra, where you are mostly pastoring?
marriages are a foundation of any community.
Sure.
And so you just have to look at our communities, and it will really give you a
tell you a
state
good
of
picture.
our marriages.
Yeah.
Our marriages are broken.
Oh my goodness.
We've got to be honest with that.
Yeah.
Alexandra is a very challenging place to be.
Sure.
Many families headed by single parents. In fact, to actually see a good working marriage is something that you don't often see. So that is the state, even in the church.
Yeah.
The church attracts a lot of single women.
Right.
Fathers are at home. If they are present, they don't come to church and all of that.
Yeah.
And so, with the state of marriages, and I wouldn't even say Mfundis, it's in Alex. I think it's in the whole
everywhere,
country.
isn't
It's
it?
everywhere.
Yeah.
Marriages are broken. Marriages are broken. In fact, people are starting to lose even this whole thing. Is really marriage a good idea? Does this thing really work?
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a good marriage, or people pretend? Because that's what we have now. People will say no, abantu benza ngathi ku right, but we know what's happening behind closed doors. So when you speak of a possibility of a working marriage, it's sort of an idea that is foreign now because of the state of our marriages.
I get you for this. What kind of personal pressure is on you and your wife, being ministers of marriages and being pastors nalapo? Is there, if even, I'm going to open my gift in the meantime while you answer.
All right.
I got a beautiful gift here.
Mfundis,
Yeah.
one of the things that really helped me is first to understand that I am not the standard of marriage. My marriage is not. Number one, that removes that pressure. Then, because obviously, if you teach on marriage, if you write books on marriage, there's the pressure. You go to how is his marriage? I've got to be honest. I think it's definitely, and to be worse, to make matters worse, I wrote my first book on marriage in 2021. It was released in 2021. 2020, my marriage was on. This is my second book. Yes. 2020, my marriage was on the rocks. I went through the most in my own marriage. So that's why then it made it even more difficult. When then how this guy is releasing a book on marriage. Really the people who know
This
the story.
one person.
This one. But then it helped me to know, Guti. Sometimes God trains us in the area where we are. He allows us to go through situations in the areas where He wants us to make the most impact as well. So now, I believe that whatever that I went through, that we went through with my wife, sort of gives us a voice to say, if you go this route, it will not end right for you. So there's pressure, and we thank God for the grace. He's helping us. I normally say to couples who come in for counseling, my marriage is a testament that God is able to restore marriages. I'm not saying this as just a theology. I'm not saying this as something that I've heard about, but I've experienced it. I've seen it, God doing it in my marriage, and so that gives me strength to continue.
Do you think someone who's not married, or secondly, someone who's divorced, could they teach on marriage?
As much as we teach what we know that we've experienced, but there's grace as well. I think if that would be the qualification for anyone to teach on something, I think many of us pastors would have to sit down, because a lot of times we teach about things that we don't know, but what God has given us ability to. Yes, there's power of experience. There's power of speaking what you know, but there's also grace of just God giving you stuff that you know nothing about, but you can stand and really teach people and help people who are in it, and for them to say, Mfundis, you've really helped us. So it is not being married or being divorced. It's not a qualification or a disqualification to actually teach on the subject of marriage. It's God's institute. It's on
After
the Bible.
all,
It's his. It's not ours. That's why my marriage is not the standard of marriages. Yes, I would want to model, what God means, what God says marriage is. I would like to do that for the church, to look at our marriage as their leaders, to say we want to model, but we are not the standard.
I get you for this. So for this, the church sometimes ibekwa that pressure to make sure that it takes care of marriages. The church is blamed when there are divorces. like you're saying, when that couple divorced, there were some maybe who might have criticized you, the church. The church is
Yeah.
take care of marriages, build marriages. We can argue maybe that the church is not doing well.
Yeah.
I think all of us in society are not doing well. The government is not doing well in this. Community at large is not doing well in raising healthy marriages.
Yeah.
But I get divorce rate that is so high.
It's high.
So we are all to blame.
Yeah.
But if we just zoom into the church's role in this whole mess, why is the church not equipped to take care of its own couples and families?
Yeah, that's a huge question. As you are saying, I'm sure there was a time when we could look at the statistics and say it's better in the church.
Yeah.
But now we can't. Now we can't.
Unfortunately.
It's you know, whether you speak in tongues, this does hit all of us, you know. I think maybe we are making the mistake that the world is making when it comes to the institution of marriage. One is we are so particular about everything else. If you want to be a pastor, we want to check what do you know, what have you done, what have you learned, you know. If you want to lead a music ministry, we want to see what have you done, what you know, what sort of experience do you have, you know, before we can entrust you with this. We are so particular with that. I'm just talking in relation to the church. I can take it to the world as well. You know, you can't drive without a license. It's no way. You can't start a crèche, you know, a whatever. There has to be some qualification. But when it comes to this institution, we are okay with just people walking into it, you know, without being prepared. The seminars we have, they focus on those who are already in the marriage. And the question is, who then is equipping those who are going into it? You know, the subject of marriage is always behind closed doors with those who are already in it. In our pulpit, we don't, the only time we make reference of marriage is when we say the church is married to Christ. That's the only time that people really hear about this idea of marriage, you know. And the next time people get to be told about marriage is when they've already decided to get married, because our premarital counseling are for people who have already said something. The question is, what about that person who's sitting there, not yet married, not thinking about marriage yet, but they want to get married at some point? What is it that we give them so that they make the best decision, you know, when it comes to that? And we cannot, you know, when I was on my way coming here, I hear on the news of I think it came out on Monday or so, about a guy who banned his girlfriend from telling her petrol, and she's on life support. And my thinking says, you know, there was a time when maybe, you know, relationship education was a matter of choice, of a nice to have. But I think now it's getting more and more critical for everyone. You know, marriages continue to destroy lives. They've destroyed many lives. People have lost themselves. People are losing their sanity, if not their actual lives. And so for the church to also just to continue to be relaxed when it comes to this subject of marriage, I think it's a disservice that we are doing to the people, because the marriage is, you know, the church in itself. God did not institute the church first. It was the marriage that came first. So that should tell us that this thing is important. So in our pulpits, we should be talking about marriage. You know, we should be talking about obviously on different levels. Those who are in it, those who are going into it. How do we? The conversation has to be there, just to prepare the people going in it, so that we don't then sit with counseling sessions each and every time. Why? Because people don't really know what they people love marriage. I think it was, I don't know when it was. I said to the people I was with, we spend a lot of time praying for marriage as if marriage is a gift, but that's not what the Bible really says. When Abafundi said uJesu, then this marriage thing is hard. Then when they were asking about divorce, and he said what? They said this thing is hard. Jesus says to them, it is not everyone given to be not to be married. Not to be married is a gift, as opposed to the marriage itself. You know, then it is a responsibility for all of us to prepare people for marriage. You know, so I think the church is doing a disservice by not really including this subject on the pulpit.
So just to zoom in on you already told us that you've done for marriage, things that people need to know before they walk down the aisle. What are those key areas as preparation in the life of a person so that they can survive, if I can use that word, in marriage?
I think one of the first things that I would say, Mina Guti, the best way you can prepare yourself for marriage is to take care of your singleness. What does being single really mean? I think people. I'm actually busy writing a book, a marriage book for singles.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's called Navigating Singleness. This whole term of being single is spoken of in a negative light, sort of to say if you're single then it means you are not complete, and so people look at being single as something to run away from, only to enter marriage, and the Bible says the two shall become one. Because to be single simply means to be one. It means to be whole. That means then what will determine the success of your marriage is how well you are as a single person. A lot of people want to get married, but they can't even stand themselves. You don't even know who you are, but you want to take whatever that you don't like yourself, and you want to take this thing and give it to someone, and you wonder why they suddenly have a problem with it. So the teachings that we should give on marriage is not really how to prepare yourself for the next person, is how to be good yourself. Know who you are, know where you are going. Well, Adam, we normally avoid all this. Adam did not say I want to get married now. Adam was content in who he was.
Okay.
He was busy. He was busy working. He was busy with what God had given him, and God said it is not good for this man to be alone. So it's that to say you must be happy with, you must be content with who you are. You must know who you are. You must know where you are going as a single person. You must be enough. You must feel whole as yourself. Because marriage is not about finding a better half. As romantic as that sounds, that's not biblical. You don't find half. It's not half plus half is equals to one in marriage. It's 1 plus 1. So a whole person.
Plus a
whole person. So these are some of the things. The book seeks to say there's a lot of things that you need to deal with personally for you then to qualify. Adam was not loneliness that qualified him for marriage, but it was completeness in him, in God, that actually qualified him for marriage.
Sure, I hear you. There's another group of people I think need premarital counseling, right? Besides the couple.
Okay.
Those people are called in-laws. I think they themselves, when people are going to get married, they need a premarital counseling. Am I in-laws? How do people become better in-laws?
I think maybe for us to blame ama in-laws is because of the disservice that we do to the people going into marriage, and maybe because of the teachings that we also give. Families and all that. Those sounds nice. They sound, they are well intentioned in themselves, but I think they contribute to the non-clarity of it. When the Bible, when Jesus says the two shall become one, and then he says let no one separate, that already means this is a new separate entity in itself.
It's
a new family. One of the things I teach in the book is on setting boundaries, because without these, then you have the family trying to dictate how you should raise abantwana, how you should do things in your family, and a lot of marriages have been destroyed because of that. But as I'm saying, Guti, we may blame the parents and the in-laws themselves, but I think the biggest people to be blamed are the people in the marriage. People in the marriage. If you are not going to set boundaries the Bible is there's nothing that the Bible doesn't teach on marriage. We may ignore all of these things. The Bible says the man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. Okay, why the man only? It's because the woman has already left, because she's brought to the altar by the father as a way to say she's now been released. And then the Bible then calls the man to do as well. To leave does not really speak of neglect the parents or whatever, but it simply means both of us have to understand that we are now, we become each other's priority. Priorities change
now.
Yes, if your mother was the best thing ever, your wife has to be. If your father or as a woman was the best thing ever, the best news you first have to share with them, that has to change. Your spouse takes that place. So already we know this is a single entity. There's boundaries. How people relate to us as a couple, we have to decide. We have to give them the go ahead. This is how we do it.
We set the standard.
We, one of the things that I teach you, we have to work on the boundaries. discuss the boundaries, set them up, and then go communicate them to your parents. Each one to his own, because my parents will forgive me because I'm theirs. But if suddenly my wife goes to my parents and say, listen, if nifuni mali Sifiso, you have to come through me, they're definitely going to hate her. But if I go there and say, you see, Bazalba, I love you so much, but there's something that we are trying to build. Can you help me? If there's any help that you need, whatever way, can you please just via my wife so that it is over easy? When we do this, we are teaching people how to relate to our marriage, because when there are no walls that are built around the marriage, our people will trample upon that marriage like no one's business.
Absolutely.
People will tell you how your wife must dress. They will tell you what she must do with her hair and all of that. And if you don't stand up, and I say to my couples, at some point your family will never respect your spouse or your kakhulu, the family yamadoda. The problem many of the times it comes from that side. I normally say to men, if you're not going to stand up to your family because of your wife, they will never respect your wife. Sometimes you have to be straight with them. If you are not going to respect this woman, you are going to lose me as your son. And when you stand up and do that, they will respect you. They're going to respect her and your marriage.
Tough conversations.
It's a tough one. But they have to know, this one is now my one. We are one. So if you hate her, you basically hate me. So if you are not going to the way you love me, then it means you do not love me. And if you are willing to lose me because you are not, then that's going to be. We have to deal with that. I'm telling you, as harsh as it may sound, and I make sure when I officiate weddings, I communicate these things in front of my parents. They must know, respect these people. If we take ilobola, they are old enough then to lead a family. If Tina, as from the family and daughter, we go there, send a delegate to go take lobola. We are saying this man is man enough to make his own decision. We can't then say because those are some of the problems that we have. Why do we want to dictate how they want to get married if we are saying they are ready to get married? So this is why families now, you find families are fighting with the church because the church is saying you cannot compromise on the gospel. There are things that you cannot do because you are born again. And the family is saying, it's not how we do. I'm saying, and these are tough conversations you have with families. If you have taken lobola for this woman, or if you have sent people to go lobola for this man, why then don't you trust this man to do this thing in the way that they would want?
He's mature enough.
Yes,
he's man enough.
If you didn't think they were men enough to make their own decision, why are you then sending them into something that you feel that they're not going to handle? So these are tough things. But and we pastors need to teach, set up boundaries, communicate ama expectations when to our families and their expectations, so that they know their role ihamba this far, so that they don't think they're going to tell you how to do things in your own marriage.
I get you. So here's a case study. A guy he's in his family, his own blood family, and he is the breadwinner. He's the only one working, supporting bonke labantu. Now he wants to get married. He gets married. How does he balance his old reality to the new reality now? He's got a new family he's starting. He wants his own children, or he has his own children already now. But there's a need. It's not even about a demand or an expectation only.
There's a need.
It's a need back home. How does he balance the two? It's a tough case study, but it's a real one. I've seen it so many times. Sometimes it can be the daughter. Can be the daughter as well. What do you advise such a couple?
These are conversations that we have before we get into it.
Right.
Everyone brings in the burdens that they come with. I'm sorry to use the word burden, but everyone brings what they're bringing into the marriage, so that what are we doing this? This is the case. Without me, Ekaya, there's no bread. This is the responsibility, and it's not even a matter of black tax as we say it. This is a matter of if I don't bring anything, then nothing is going to be there. This is a conversation we have before. So the whoever, the spouse then, or whoever is going, the potential spouse, understands that there's a burden that I'm coming with. And so whatever then planning we do around our own family, there has to be that. And that's why when we're setting these boundaries, it's not a what you do on the left, do on the right, because situations are not the same. Some the wife probably may come from a family where they are okay. They don't need anything from you. So there's no need to say, if we are going to take the money that side, then we must. There is no need for that. That's why we have to have this conversation. This is what I'm bringing. How is it going to get affected? Maybe I was sending 1,000 rent, but now there's a family. Obviously, there's my kids. There's whatever I'm building. Maybe have a conversation with parents. I can't do 1,000 now. I can only go as far as 800, and whatever the case might be. If there's more, then we're gonna do more. But it's a conversation that the couple needs to have going into prior the marriage, because everything that we just keep quiet on and suddenly in the marriage does not change things. It actually amplifies
what
things.
What is already there,
and it gets amplified in the marriage. So that's why then whatever it is, we discuss things. That's why premarital counseling is very important. It's very, very important. That's why dating is important as well. Godly dating is important. We have this conversation. This is me. This is how my family situation is. This is where I come from. This is, if I go into the marriage, how does this change the whole thing? How does this affect the whole thing? So it's important.
And abanye only discover this particular problem when they are in the marriage now. Or omunye decides ubegezela for a while, and then it gets too much. Then they get to one particular year in their marriage, they're fighting with this issue. How can they now? It's like trying to fix an aeroplane mid-air, which is never done. Aeroplane is fixed on the ground.
It has to come down.
How do we help that? The marriage now is already in course, but there's this issue that was supposed to be handled beforehand.
Mfundisi, maybe one of the biggest problems we have as couples, we allow things to go on for a while, for a long time than they should. We tend to sweep things, as you are saying. We tend to just avoid things, sweep them under the carpet, and that's never a conflict resolution strategy that works. It never works, because at some point that carpet will not be able to handle all this, and once it bursts, instead of dealing with this, we are dealing with 5-year things, 5-year long issues now. When we find out mine is whatever that we cannot find each other in, let us find the third person, someone who's going to help us find one another in this whole thing. We tend to let things to go for a long time than they necessarily should. So mine would be, we are already in mid-air. We cannot just bring it down like that. We can't. Let's find someone who's going to help us make sense of this. And we should own up to our errors that we have made. Things that we've hid coming into the marriage. We have to because really these are the problems. We just want to lather, and therefore we withhold information that we know is going to call for the other person to make a decision. Help the person to make a right decision by giving them everything that is there. This is me. This is all that I bring.
In the beginning,
let them make the decision. I'm going to be with you. Then later, but you knew about this. You knew about this, and you said yes. So it becomes unfair for you now to raise a problem. Yes, you may say, "Good, we are having challenges on it. How do we readjust it?" But find someone to talk to. Find someone. There's pastors, there's counselors. Just find someone. Don't try to solve something that you created.
It's a tough one. Your work is hard.
I'm telling you.
Your work is hard.
And you have your own marital problems as well.
At the same time.
and sometimes I know my wife is going to hate me for this. At times you say things that help other people, and my wife will be listening to me and she'll be like, "We are going to solve our problems, And sometimes you struggle, and sometimes she says something that gets to me. But and when we are having a conflict or we are having an argument, and she'll go like, don't cancel me. Don't cancel me. I'm not your. I'm like, how do we then resolve things? Because I'm just trying to bring maybe some knowledge. But maybe let's try it this way. Don't cancel me. And I'm like, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
So for this, well, if you get into your book now, the 40-day marriage devotional, 20 negotiables, non-negotiables, 20 non-negotiables of building a successful marriage, by Pastor Sifiso Twala. There you go. Get this for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. We'll put the details on the screen there. Why was it important to do a devotional from this instead of just a book?
It's maybe let me start here from this. It's so interesting how this book came about. I've always been, when this year I was celebrating my 40th birthday.
Yes. That's why there's a lot of 40 going on in your life.
So, since last year I've been saying to my wife, I'm turning 40, and it was such a big deal for me, you know. When I joke around, Abanobeng Buzgutwa is 40, so important to you. It is because, number one, I'm moving out of the category abafundisa abancane. There's nothing that ayikho into engingasisa njengayo, because I feel ukuthi abantu bethu abafundisa abancane,
there's some kind of joke to
there's
it.
Bakumute somewhere ukuthi there are subjects or there are tables you cannot speak on. So it was always exciting for me. So I've always said to my wife, I want to do something. I'm 40th year. I want to do something crazy and what. Sure. Towards the end of March this year, I wake up one morning and I say to her, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to launch it on my 40th birthday.
Yes.
So that is about 50 something days before my birthday.
Wow,
she's like,
hectic.
I'm telling you,
Hectic.
she's like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, yeah. And when I had this conversation with her, I had already calculated how many days do I have to write the book, to get it edited, to get it designed and printed, you know. And so we had about 50 days to work on it.
Sure.
And so this is how the 40-day came about. It was sparked by this statement, so good life begins at 40. So for me, I go into that just says, so it means in the 39 years, one is collecting knowledge, one is getting experiences, so that when 40 hits you hit the ground running. And so I said, this is my introduction to this life thing. I want to give to marriages. I want to give to marriages. Someone says, so this is your second book on marriage. My first book anyway was titled "It's Not What You Think: Marriage Today," released in 2001. It's still available. So why are you writing on marriages? And my thing is, I'm saying this in the most humblest way I can. I can wake up and write a book on prayer. I've taught on prayer for years now. I can wake up and write a book on faith. I've taught on faith. I preach different subjects every Sunday at church. But mine is, what good is knowing how to pray when you are suffocating in your marriage? Because marriage is that critical. Marriage is that critical. It can destroy your faith. It can destroy your spiritual life totally when things are not working. So so for me, this was, hey, I'm on the 4th floor. This is how I'm entering with a gift to marriages.
Awesome.
A devotional instead of a book is because I wanted people to participate. This is not just a read and put there, but this is let's build our marriages. For someone who's saying our marriage is okay, but we feel good, we can strengthen it even more. This is for you. For someone who's saying our marriage is shaking, we stay in the same house, but we don't even, we feel like strangers. This is to help you rebuild your marriage. For someone who's saying I want to get into marriage, this is something, because it's practical in its approach. There's not a lot of reading. As much as it's a thick book, but there's not a lot of reading. There's a lot of challenges and getting you to think up on subject, on particular things. So that's why I said, instead of writing another book, how about I share these 20 non-negotiables. 20 non-negotiables, but it makes it 40 because you read day one,
Yeah.
day two, we then go through the exercises of that previous
right,
day. So
right.
this is how we have 40 days of 20 non-negotiables.
Negotiables,
So, and I term these non-negotiables because I believe that each and every marriage, as much as people are different, marriages are different, situations are not the same, but there are constant things in every marriage.
Every
The
marriage.
foundation of that marriage, the wall. I mean, you can talk about the houses. Every house may look, the shape may be different, the roof may be different, but how the walls and the foundations are made, that is
always
constant.
different, yeah.
You know, that is
constant,
definitely,
it
it
stays
stays
there.
the same. So this communicates the things that I believe that each and every marriage needs to have. So I'm telling you, this will encourage couples to have conversations.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
talk.
We
Couples
don't,
don't
we
talk.
don't.
We can talk to everyone except the people
Except
that
us.
matter.
Yeah.
You know, and so this will spark conversation, and it sort of gives a platform for couples to have those difficult conversations
Yeah.
that we cannot have
Yeah.
because now it's an exercise. And one of the rules that we have in terms of going through this devotional, create a safe environment for both of you. Singakhulumi ngento tomorrow kusasa seku konja wena nento zakho yabona. Let it be safe ukuthi when I share whatever I'm sharing with you, it's for the benefit of building the marriage, not to take it apart. So this is my gift to say, hey, welcome me to the fourth floor. This is how I start life, by giving life to marriages.
This is beautiful for this. I
Thank
see
you,
already
sir.
on day one, you are talking about building marriage building the marriage on the right foundation.
Yeah.
The question is, why did I get married?
Yeah.
Big question, isn't it?
Big question. Big
Why
question.
did I, wow. Sure.
You know, the reason I wanted to highlight that, there's a lot of things that I can talk about in terms of the foundation.
Yeah.
You know, but we all know. I did civil engineering by the grace of God.
Yeah.
So buildings were things that we focused on.
was as
The strength of any building lies on its foundation, not how beautiful the roof is, not how nicely the windows are positioned, the foundation. And the psalmist says in the book of Psalms 11, he says, if the foundations are broken, what can the righteous do? What can you do? You know, you cannot fake this. If the problem lies in the foundation, no matter how many pictures you put on Facebook, no matter how many trips you take, if the problem is on the foundation, you are really in a problem. You need to deal with it.
Yes.
You know, so and I say one of the basic foundational errors is the reasons we get into marriage. And I say many of us get into marriage because of crisis of age, crisis of kids, crisis of disorder in our own lives. People will say some of the weirdest things, and I'm sure Gutinam have said them at some point. Angikhathele ukuzwashela manje ngifuna kumele ngitrowe, you know. Yo ngikhathele ukupheka. You see, that's crisis, and that way that will be the cause of your pains and your heartaches in the marriage. So make sure that the reason is right.
And some people go in there, especially Pastor, they go in there to solve indaba sex.
Yeah. if you cannot hold the last, umshado is not going to stop you from going last full. That needs Jesus. That needs self-control. That needs the Holy Spirit. Not marriage, because uzophuma emshadweni uyoyenza somewhere else later.
Because I solve
umshado is not going to solve that, you know. And even nathi pulpit sisho kanjalo nithi susumdala shada, you know. Uzozumosha. We say that all the time. As much as we are well-meaning kuyo, but there is some negativity that comes with it, because now abantu to feel the pressure ukuthi kumele ungene emshadweni now because of whatever. So crisis isifake emshadweni sibaningi, and it's the same reasons asikhipha ngobuningi futhi in that very marriage.
Tell me about day 7, dealing with the biblical foundation principles of marriage, and you talk about cleaving. What is that cleaving? We hear about it in Genesis. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. What do we not understand about cleaving right now?
You know, Mfundis, I think I can safely start here. Many of us will be shocked. Ukuthi umshado was not built on love. And this is what we base our marriages on.
My goodness.
We enter into it for love, and people leave because I fell out of love. And when you read the Bible, marriages were there already in Genesis. But the first time we hear of the word love is when Isaac Abraham bemtshela to go sacrifice his only son that he loves. That's the only time we hear the word love. But people have been married, have been successful, because God did not build marriage on love, but on commitment. So the word cleave in Hebrew is a word commit. Commitment is a key to marriage. So here we discuss into yokuthi unless we are committed to this thing, it matters not how much we do, how much fancy things we do. People have to be committed to the marriage and to each other. And unfortunately we are a society ya social media. You know, for one day I stay with social media.
Sure.
I can be on Facebook at the same time doing something on Instagram, at the same time busy on my laptop. Our attention is always divided. And this is the same attitude we take to the marriage. We never committed, we never give ourselves wholly to this thing. And there's an example that I'm sure a lot of people have heard because it's out there. What is commitment, you know? And I say one of the simplest thing to communicate commitment is there's a story city, a chicken went to the pig and said, let us make a bacon and egg sandwich, you know, and the pig said, it's easy for you, you know, because you just lay an egg and you continue to live, you get involved, but I have to lay my life down for the bacon to be there. This is the problem. Many of us are chickens in our marriages. We are just involved. You've not given your all. You are just there when it's convenient. You know, when things are hot, you easily jump out of it because there's no commitment. But the Bible says we should live and cleave. We love where it says the two shall become one. But shall is process. So the more we live, the more we cleave. So this is not a one-day thing. It's not like on the day of marriage, mfundis magati, and then that's it. No, we continue to live. We continue to forsake, because the name live is it's just that there's Hebrew to English. There's a lot of things that we lose. There's a lot of things that constantly to do these word definitions. In the Hebrew, the word live is a packed word. It speaks of forsaking. It speaks of neglecting. You have to continue to forsake things for the one you love. You have to continue to neglect things. You continue to leave certain things for them. And that's not a once-off thing. Same with cleaving. It's commitment. It means to pursue. We pursue before masakshela, we pursue you. But immediately things change. But the Bible says you pursue. You continuously go after this person. You continue seek to know this person even better. Never get to a point where you're saying when. Many marriages are dead because of that. We conclude on things because we hide things that we should be communicating because once you get to a point where wazumuntu corner, you're in a very terrible place, because it means you have closed yourself from knowing them. People grow, you grow, they grow as well. So what can I know about you today? So cleaving is a huge thing, and I would really encourage people to get this sorted.
You also speak about in day 11 you're talking about restoring broken walls in the marriage. What are some of those broken walls that can be there?
From if you go through the book, you will notice I speak of the foundation, and then we deal with the walls.
I see.
The walls that I'm talking about are things like having values in your marriage. You know what the values of the marriage are. The boundaries that we've spoken about knowing each other's strength, the strength of the marriage, the weaknesses. So now I make an analogy of we look at the walls in this generation or this era that we are in as negative things. Walls are negative, are viewed negatively. But in the Bible, walls were very important things. Every city was known of its walls. The stronger the wall, the stronger that city is. Once the city loses its wall, it's only a matter of time before that city is captured. So that is the issue with our marriages. And a problem among walls, they are always broken by foundations. Once the builders will tell you, when they see a crack on the wall, when you can paint it and get it plaster, they will tell you that the problem is underneath. There's a shaking in the foundation. That's why the walls are cracking.
So that plastering is a temporary
solution. It's a temporary solution. They will tell you that we have to do something with the foundation if we are going to keep this wall standing. So most of our marriages have encountered this brokenness. People don't trust each other. We don't share common values in the marriage. People live together, but they live different lives. And I say this is a disservice that we make. Umshado is powerful when the two people are pulling together. There's one thing that I normally say to couples: there's strength in pulling together.
Yeah.
You know, kunezinto that you are not going to receive from God. uNkulunkulu uyakuhosia njalo athi, come, I have something for you.
Sure.
When Hosea gets there, God says, where's your wife? You know, I can't talk until your wife is here. And many of us appear to God, say hamba sodwa, and God is asking, where is your wife? You know, there was a time when me and my wife were going through struggles, difficulties. In fact, to a point we were living together, but we were just not vibing.
Yeah.
You know, if I were to put it that way. I was doing my own thing, ministry, focusing on ministry and every other thing. I was struggling for this. I don't want to lie.
Sure.
And I only realized later, you know, when we started to work on things, I just saw doors opening. I would touch things and they would start to move.
Yes.
And I realized that I lost the grace that was in my marriage. There's the grace of God that works for people in the marriage. And we cut ourselves out of that. You know, when you find yourself planning separate things from your wife, she may not be part of it, but if you talk about it together and she's behind you, there's grace that works in that.
Wow.
So we as couples, there's things that we are fighting tooth and nail to get done. We are just missing the grace that comes with just being married. Just being married is a grace.
I hear you.
I think it's in Deuteronomy where the Bible says one can chase 1,000. How can one chase 1,000? And it says two, not 2,000. Because you would think, okay, 1,000 then two, it means 2,000.
No,
But the Bible says 10,000. So there's 10 times strength when you are pulling together.
Sure.
So walls need to be restored, you know, because once the walls are down, it's only a matter of time before that marriage collapses, because everyone has access. That's when cheating comes in. That's when in-laws flood in. That's when friends come in with influence, and that marriage is a matter of time before it's gone dead and buried.
So this is an important theme, because I also see in day 21 you talk about building a culture in the marriage. What does that entail?
Culture is, we know that number one, people create culture, but the importance of culture is then that culture begins to create people.
Whew,
that's the thing.
Wow.
So you know, when I teach on church growth, this is one of the things that I talk to make sure that you create a culture as early as possible, because you don't have to do anything. Whatever culture you have allowed to manifest in the church, it will begin to create. You'll wonder why can't and it's the culture that is now just manufacturing abantu. Same thing with the marriage. You have to build a culture, and you have to be intentional. What are the things? Because it's values that then create cultures. Number one, we start talking about values. What are these things that are important to us as a couple? You know, are these shared? You know, do you see the things that I think are important as important as well? You know, because you can find people. There was I think I talk about it in the book. There was a couple that I cancelled. They are not agreeing on anything. Like, they come to me and what is that problem here? You know, has there been cheating in this relationship? No, there hasn't. But why is it that they can't? And I decided, out of curiosity, I asked them, did you guys do premarital? And they said, no, we didn't, because yonke to just happen so fast. Okay. And I took them through my course, a very brief course. I took them through, and when we got to the part of values, I saw that these people don't value the same things. You know, the other one is religious, if I may put it loosely like that. The other one hates everything to do with church, you know, and that's a basic thing. The other one is more on family life, you know, let's The other one is focusing on just making it. And now you see what we are trying to do something, we are trying to build this thing together, but we are not looking at the same things, you know. And so when we determine what is important to us, there's an activity which I enjoy. Most of the couples who have done it, they've actually enjoyed it, where couples get to sit down, write 18 of what you think is important to you and the marriage. The other one does the same thing, and then we put all of these things down.
You compare them a list.
We put them down here. We start to eliminate. Choose one. If one is to go and we remove until we live with 8, which both of us think which this is important for us. And then now culture comes in. How do we ensure that these things live in our marriages? Activities that we involve ourselves. If quality time is important to us, what do we do together as a couple? You know, if we say family is important, what do we do as a couple that speaks to that? So this is where culture is then built, because it is culture. When the culture is there, children are going to grow in that culture, and their marriages will be shaped according to this as well.
It's beautiful. When people think of the word intimacy, they immediately go to sex, and intimacy is not sex, because you can have sex without intimacy.
You don't need that.
There's a specific day there you talk about emotional intimacy. Which is Wow. Little bit understood. There is not much understood.
You know, Mfundisi, this is where many of us, especially men, we struggle with this.
Yeah.
For us, we interpret sex as intimacy as sex.
Yeah.
When your wife says, "Hug me," already things want to happen.
You think it's going there.
And when it doesn't, then you feel you know. And so this is where we miss it.
Yeah.
This is where we miss it. And I say, Mina, emotional intimacy, or this intimacy, as I speak about it, is the one that will determine how the other sexual intimacy becomes.
Yes.
And we neglect it because we want to go straight to this. You know, we don't hold hands. We don't just sit and with nothing. We don't because for me the word intimacy is intimacy. You know, where we get to have this conversation where I share my fears with you. You know my deep thoughts. You know, this is where. So Tina, we just want to get straight to it, because obviously, you know, in our defense, we are the seed carriers.
Yes.
We want to release this thing. You know, women receive this thing.
Yes.
So, but we that's why then we have to teach ourselves as men, kakulu. Yes, it's not cut in stone. Good, it's men who are there are women who are more inclined to sexual intimacy kakulu than their partners. You know. But we men, I find we're the ones who need to train ourselves even more. You know, get to talk more.
Sure.
We don't want to talk. We you know, we just want to get to things. So here it teaches us how to deal with the issues of intimacy, because I say if this part of the relationship is Mfundisi, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. Couples can't speak to one another. You'll be shocked. I'm telling you, couples can't have a decent conversation.
Sure.
You know, the fact that we have a family, we have a bond that we are paying. We have a bantwana that we are raising. We have to take to school. That becomes our life, whereby we only talk about our responsibilities towards the family as a whole, and we neglect this thing, which is us. Couples can't sit and have a decent conversation. They can't. There's no intimacy at all. There's nothing. That's why then to women, sex becomes a burden now. It becomes a age thing. It becomes a age thing. Why? Because they are not receiving the intimacy. So this book helps us with, let us take care of that. Let us have a time where we just one of the things when me and my wife were building our marriage again, one of the things that we started was we started what we call our boardroom day, if I may call it that way, whereby we when we started, it was every week, where we know Friday afternoon is our time. We go out. Doesn't have to be a restaurant. We can just go out to a Mall of Africa and go sit there by the water in the park nyana there.
As long as
just talk. As long as we're together, we get to talk. Share, how was the week? You know, how are things? How am I doing? You know, on the commitments that I've made to you, how am I doing? What do you think I need to improve? Where we have an honest, open conversation with one another. This is where intimacy is built up. Hold hands, just walk around, say nothing, sit together. You know, it builds that closeness. That I'm thinking about you. Send a message. I'm thinking about you. You know, we don't have that. Kuma couples wait. You know, when you get a text from your wife or your husband, you know it's a command. Bring this, bring that, don't forget this. It's never about I'm thinking about you. It's never about I miss you. We never do those things. We don't kiss one. Say jwayelana to a point says jwayelana kabi. Yabona jwayele kabi umuntu. Ukuhlala nonkosikazi wakho, you can't kiss them. We do those things, and this is where we kill our marriages.
What's the difference between you deal with it in 4 chapters, I think. This concept, it's working on your marriage and working in your marriage.
Yes. To work on the marriage is what I call the overall health of the marriage. To work on. Yes.
Okay.
And what I say, I think one of the is, if you don't put work in it will not work out. We have this illusion that umshado will sort itself out. We just go into it and it will deal with itself, you know, and that's an illusion. Marriage has to be worked on. Marriage has to be worked on. That means day in and day out we are thinking about how to improve our marriage, how to improve each other. This is what working on the marriage is. And then there's the working in. Now this speaks about amadoda yavilapha. Amadoda don't mind ukuthi siphume soyi-2 ekseni, and I'm not I'm gonna catch as you know, amadoda will say ke ngimana besifazane, but it's okay. we don't mind ukuphuma nonkosikazi ekseni so itu omunye drive ayele emsebenzini or omunye drop omunye emsebenzini omunye emsebenzini, but when we come back at home indoda will sit on the couch when the woman prepares the food, prepares abantwana, homework, and later on you want her to perform as well in the bedroom. It doesn't work. So working in the marriage says both of us need to understand ukuthi this is a relationship that we are in, this is a home that we are in, and for it to work both of us need to put in work. If omunye is cooking there, omunye against homework abantwana, if omunye, and it must not come from ama responsibility ukuthi ke mina mangenzale enzale, it should come from indoda nje lento yokuthi yazi man ukuthi things cannot happen by themselves. Someone has to do these things, you know. And you wonder when now the bedroom is suffering, it's because the kitchen is not taken care of, you know. It's important. So working in means let us all participate in ensuring that this thing is these household duties, they just work.
You know, as we draw to a close, you there's something very a contention on this issue of love and respect, or love and submission. Because submission is a very thorny word.
Not in this age.
What are your teachings on that, on submission, on love, on those different roles that men and women have according to Scripture?
You know, I that's a very tough one, and it's always a point of contention, especially in this new age where submission is seen as, subjugation is seen as slavery, is seen as oppression, by many, and yes, we can for a bigger part take responsibility of what we've abused the whole thing of submission as men, because even indoda engenzi lutho ekhaya yakwazi ukuthi ngindoda ngiyathotshelwa yabona umfazi akathobe, and we forget ukuthi these are responsibilities. Okay, maybe let's start here. I call these the pillars. I think this will help my conversation. A pillar in the building does a very unique job, the pillar is the one that distributes the load. So the pillar will take the load from the structure into the foundation.
Nice. Oh, all right. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So
okay.
the presence.
This is civil engineering now.
This is civil engineering 101.
Yeah.
The foundation is underneath, you can't see it.
Can't see it, yes.
But the presence of it is seen through the role of our pillars, because the pillars are the ones that connect the structure to the foundation.
So that pressure, that what do you call it? Is it pressure?
Yeah,
is
it's
it
pressure,
weight?
it's the weight, it's the load.
Okay.
It gets carried to the pillars, will then distribute it into the foundation. So that's how we know that there is a foundation, because we see the pillars already.
I always thought my pillars just hold the roof.
No. They're the ones that take and just send things down there.
Wow,
That send
which
things
makes
down
me
there.
understand now why you say that the foundation is so critical.
Yeah.
The foundation is the one that carries the weight. I always thought if I see a pillar, it's just carrying. Now I've been schooled. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hope that helps someone as well. So I then Paul, when he teaches about marriage, he then brings in this. He says to women, women, you must submit, and down there he replaces submit with respect. So if you don't know what submission is, the simplest term is respect your husband. Respect.
Sure.
Respect your husband. He says to husbands, love your wives.
Yeah.
So now these are the rightful Christian roles of a husband and a wife.
Sure.
You have to love your wife. And it's not just left open, go to love her the way you think.
Yeah.
He says love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Now the pattern is, how did Christ love? That's the template. You look at Christ and you go back and you practice.
Yeah.
And he says to women, he says submit as unto the Lord. And he says submit in all things.
Now, if women think they have it tough in terms of submission,
they must just check this love thing.
Look at the love thing. The pattern is as Christ loved.
And he gives us he says he died for her. He died for the church.
You decide which one is tougher.
I'm telling you, this love thing is the model is too high. Jesus is a great husband. Is the best husband ever.
Wow.
He loved us when we were dirty. He loves us with our weaknesses. Can we do that as men? Men tend to not forgive easily. But you see, yabona already go to we fail a lot already in that. Jesus forgives. We mess up now and we go to him and he still opens his arms. And then he says, Paul then says, love as Christ loved the church.
Yes.
You know, so I call these the pillars. These are the ones that hold up then the structure.
Yes.
When a woman is loved in the right way, when the woman feels this love not just as something but as something that she can touch, she can feel, that woman, there's nothing she will not do in that marriage. When the man feels respected, there's nothing that men want. This has been spoken widely. There's nothing that makes a man feel like a man than knowing that my wife respects me. You know, but that respect can be seen in different ways, depending on different people. But when a man feels good, they are respected. That man will also share abafana amabhodlela egcwele etafuleni athi ngiya kunkosikazi wami. You know, uyazi ukuthi mayingena endlini kunalento unkosikazi ayenzayo that makes them feel man. Ayikho into ereduce indoda like the feeling of angaziwa nokuthi ngiyindoda or ngiyini like her. You know, that lack of respect. So these are the things that will hold up this structure. It doesn't matter how much values we have, but if I don't feel loved as a woman, it matters not. I don't care if you buy me flowers every day, but you don't love me when you don't love me. You will be shocked. Women will be telling you that, and it takes us to whole love language. People need to get to know those things. I struggle to nkosikazi wami put on that love language stuff. I'm a affirmations type of a person. I love to hear words. I love writing as well. That's why I guess. So that's how I want to be loved. I would love my wife to post me now and then and say my hubby. It makes me feel, I can do anything. Ngalandi Gautrain ngizoyibeka endlini. When she does that, I love that. But my problem is, I then loved her the way I want to be loved. I would post her. I would write about her. I would. But whenever we have an argument, when I won't kanjani sengenze kanje
forever when on Facebook.
But it only dawned on me, I'm loving her the way I want to be loved, And until I found what makes her tick, and I try my best to excel on that. So if the woman is loved, she will do anything. I don't care you lose your job. If the woman knows this man loves me from here to heaven, she will do amazing things. Wow. And same thing with the man who feels respected. So this is what I'm saying. And I'm saying, if the foundation is right, then Ama pillars have power. You see. So Ama pillars only find their relevance from the foundation. So if the foundation is not right, definitely this is definitely not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Wow, so that's why people must just get this.
I really encourage people to get this.
And Guma activities this is when people really get to discuss what makes you feel respected. What makes you feel respected, Ngempela? Because sometimes you may do something, women will I wash for you, but that does not make the guy tick. I just want you to honor me as your husband. I just want you to mangabe ngikhuluma nawe, listen to me. I'm not saying agree, but just to listen to me. But whenever we talk, when now we are kuluma and yabona,
I get you. Wow, this is amazing for this. Ladies and gentlemen, please get this book, The 40-Day Marriage Devotional, 20 Non-Negotiables of Building a Successful Marriage. The foreword is by Reverend S.C. Matebula. What an honor as well to have the foreword written by that man of God.
You won't even believe what happened. I had asked to Pastor Pace, because we closed Nayek. So now last minute, because all of this was last minute, in fact. Last minute, I go to him in fact, I went to him, I think it was on a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, and the book had to be released on Friday. And I say, Mfundes, I know what is late. Sengithatha my chance. Can you please write a foreword for me? And he looks at it, he's like, okay, my brother will do that. Thursday, he promises Friday, I'm going to get back to you. Okay, I'm still on check. Thursday, I check on him. Friday, he doesn't say anything. You can't, as much as a brother, but you can't say press. Monday, still nothing. And then when I send him a message saying tricks nampela, Mfundisi says, "Yabona, the printers now what," and he's like, "Mfundisi, I'm sorry, I wanted to get back to you. As I was writing this, I shared your manuscript no Mfundisi Urev, you know, and after going through that, he felt the work was so good that he wanted to endorse it. So you're gonna have his name instead." And I jumped. I couldn't sleep that night. I'm telling you, and I was like, "Wow, what an honor! What an honor!" So yes, Revesti Esima Tebula. He wrote a beautiful foreword as well, you know. So yeah, excited. I was excited. It was the best birthday gift. Best birthday gift.
Awesome. Yeah. Umfundisi Sifiso Twala uthi, if you don't put work in it, it will not work out. And that is the crux of marriage life and all of this. So please get this book for yourself. How much is the book for this? How can they get it?
All right. For now, I'm selling it. It's at 240,
rands, right.
But I'm pushing to have it on Take a Lot as well. But yeah, people can follow me on my platforms as well, just to check off ama details on those. Yeah, the book is out. The book is, I'm still promoting it. I'm planning another sort of a sit down in Pretoria, some restaurant by the How train. Yeah, but those who are following can get details on that.
Absolutely.
And yes, maybe please, with your permission,
yes, go for it.
I'm doing what I call the free relationship and marriage mentorship sessions with couples.
I see.
So couples can just group themselves, at least 15 couples and up. They can just group themselves and you know, organize a day and a time, and I will be there to give them a loan. But provided that they need to get copies as well. Yes, free sessions, and I believe these are very important. So you can take advantage of that.
Yes. Awesome. Umfundisi can be followed on Pastor Sifiso Twala Ministries. That's Facebook, Instagram, also on WhatsApp and YouTube. Website is www.sifisotwala.co.za. Utwala is without the H. Twala. This is a wonderful work that I also encourage. For this, you also do some work in the media space. Tell people about your company and the services they can get from you there.
All right. I run a company called Inlaws Enterprise. I do graphics, graphic designing. I do branding. I brand churches. I brand companies, especially startup. My focus and my passion is on those who are saying, I have an idea from this. How do I bring this to life? So we take you from logo design, business cards, until you can say, wow, this is what I do. I also, maybe if I can mention as well, I also do, I help abafundisi, and in fact not abafundisi, people who want to be marriage officers. I do that. It's a very hideous and tedious process. People know that. People have been trying this for years. But we are here to help PSTM Training Institute. Yeah, so these are some of the things that I do.
I want to come for that one. Please do,
sir. Please do, sir.
So much. We really appreciate your time joining us on the UnChristian podcast. We've learned so much in these few minutes that we've had. People are going to learn more once they get the book and also attend the events, and as they continue to follow your ministry online as well. I encourage you. These are the sound voices that we are bringing to you, Amanda, who are speaking life into the world and the community, and these are the kind of people I believe that will enrich your lives as you follow them as they follow Christ. So thank you so much as well to you for joining us in this conversation. Let's build healthy marriages, build healthy relationships, healthy children, healthy communities. Right. Thank you so much for being here. From Ndumiso Mazibuko on the UnChristian podcast, it's goodbye from us today. God bless you.
This is Phase Music.